Marvel Contest of Champions is a free gaming app developed by Kabam that enables players to collect various heroes and villains from the Marvel Universe and use them to battle against other champions. Launched in late 2014, this affinity space has over 40 million users worldwide, and although free, has grossed over $100 million from in-app purchases. While the primary portal for accessing the game's content is an iOS or Android device, users can also access content related to the game through online portals created by Kabam, Marvel, and other players themselves. As you can see here, Marvel.com's Contest of Champions online portal provides access to videos, images, news stories, character biographies, and download links related to the Affinity space. Kabam's online portal is similar, spotlighting new features within the Affinity space, links for following the Affinity space via social media, and up-to-date community posts from both Kabam and players themselves conversing about the Affinity space. For more in-depth discussions of specific aspects within the Affinity space, one can visit community.kabam.com and access the Contest of Champions portal to peruse posts written by players that provide insights for how players can excel in the Affinity space. Some players, such as the creator of this online document, take it upon themselves to invest considerable time, energy, and money so that they can assume the role of master within the Affinity space, from whom millions of other players can gain valuable insights. We see old literacy playing a significant role in each of this Affinity space's portals that we have explored up to this point, but we also see old literacy playing a role within the game itself through non-video tips and chats, as well as messages from the game team highlighting new offers and features to keep users informed. Within the game itself, Kabam is the primary generator of content. However, players also serve as generators when they engage in chats, both globally and within their individual alliances. Alliances are a crucial component of the Contest of Champions Affinity space. Each alliance has a leader, officers, and up to 30 total members. Users can join an alliance either by searching for one that interests them or through recruitment by members of an existing alliance. Within one's alliance, players embark upon quests and wars against other alliances and must work together to achieve victory and reap the rewards. Learning is self-directed in this Affinity space in that players navigate throughout the game at their own discretion, meeting various challenges and confronting them with their team of champions. Many challenges are too difficult to complete with one's current team configuration, so she or he must modify their configuration in order to overcome the challenge by upgrading their champions, trying out new combinations of champions, building a stockpile of heals and revives, and/or trying out various boosts to temporarily strengthen their champions. Class bonuses are another important component to mention within the Affinity space. Each champion within the game is represented by one of 6 champion classes: Mystic, Cosmic, Tech, Mutant, Skill, and Science, each of which is both advantaged and disadvantaged by another class. Players must be mindful of the teams they construct for each challenge they encounter to give their champions the best advantage over the opposition. So, how can educators use the knowledge gained from this Affinity space to rethink how they organize and enact literacy in school? To answer this question, I would like to examine the Contest of Champions Affinity space through the Octalysis framework developed by gamification expert Yukai Chow. This framework emphasizes 8 core drives that contribute to what make games so engaging to play. These core drives are epic meaning and calling, development and accomplishment, empowerment of creativity and feedback, ownership and possession, social influence and relatedness, scarcity and impatience, curiosity and unpredictability, and loss and avoidance. Of these 8, let us examine 4 that our Affinity space demonstrates particularly well and discuss the relevant pedagogical applications. The first is development and accomplishment. This is the drive that highlights players' progress through victory notifications, character upgrades, and leaderboards, and gives them a sense of gratification for what they've achieved. One of the great attributes of games is that they create a safe place to fail, perhaps multiple times, and try again until the concept or skill is mastered. If teachers were to integrate this same practice in their classrooms, imagine the shift in dynamic from what students usually expect of school, and the sense of achievement they would feel after they had truly mastered a challenge the teacher put before them. Should they choose to do so, teachers can also create a space for friendly competition in their classroom for certain projects, and display leaderboards to motivate students to challenge their peers. Portfolios are another meaningful way to tap into the accomplishment drive, as they provide physical progress markers for students to see how far they have come. The second core drive to discuss is ownership and possession. This is the drive in which players construct an identity and resource base to take pride in. In the Contest of Champions Affinity space, this is demonstrated through one's avatar and stockpile of champions. In the classroom, I've had successful experiences with students in the past using online avatar generators to customize personal avatars that uniquely reflect their personality. This new identity has a peculiar way of motivating students to produce their best work. Another way of fostering a sense of ownership for students is to display their work in the classroom or course website for others to see, something also tied to the first core drive of development and accomplishment. The third core drive to explore is social influence and relatedness. This is the drive that acknowledges each player has an essential part to contribute to the success of the group and fosters collaboration and encouragement among members of the group. In the Contest of Champions Affinity space, one way we see this is through the class bonuses in which each champion has both strengths and vulnerabilities. We also see this through in-game chats within one's alliance, but some players choose to utilize third-party communication apps such as Line and WhatsApp to communicate within the alliance. And here we can certainly see the encouragement and feedback users receive for their actions within the Affinity space. I'm a firm believer in posing challenges in the classroom that can only be met collectively. More than a generic group project in which one or two students end up doing the work of the whole group, if each student is given a specific component within the challenge that becomes his or her domain, they are more likely to engage as they see that their contribution is invaluable to the group's success. Like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle, the final product is not realized until all pieces have contributed their part. Closely tied in some aspects to the social influence and relatedness core drive, the last core drive to investigate is loss and avoidance. This is the drive that keeps players engaged for fear that they may lose something or experience some other negative consequence as a result of their lack of success or participation. In the Contest of Champions Affinity space, we see this primarily through the alliance challenges that are collectively completed. Battles are often won and lost by a small margin of victory, so nobody wants to be the weak link that contributed to the group's failure. Although teachers should take care in the classroom that students are not shamed or discouraged by their peers, when challenges are posed collectively, this component is virtually unavoidable. Nevertheless, teachers will often find that the loss and avoidance threat will challenge students to produce some of their best work. Teachers who are interested in gamifying their classroom can utilize awesome resources like Classcraft, which builds many of the Octalysis core drives into the system of the classroom by its very nature. Thousands of teachers have used or are using this resource in their classrooms and experiencing lots of success. As we've discussed, however, there are certainly other means of tapping into the core drives we see in affinity spaces, like Contest of Champions and others like it. Where teachers see opportunities to integrate some of these concepts into their classrooms, it would behoove them to do so and experience how a slightly different approach can create a profoundly different dynamic in the classroom.